Thank you for taking the time today to review a citywide initiative, Scottsdale's General Plan Update 2035. This recording is part of a series of brief presentations that will enable you, as a community stakeholder, to provide input on specific ideas the Planning Commission and City Council will consider adding into Scottsdale's draft general plan. This presentation will cover general plan amendment criteria. A brief poll of questions for you to answer will follow the conclusion of the presentation. Per state statutes, general plans are required to include criteria that identify and allow for plan amendments. Each municipality can establish its own criteria to define what constitutes a major or minor amendment. A major amendment is defined by state statutes as a proposal that brings substantial alteration of the municipality's land use mixture or balance as established in the existing general plan land use element. The differences between major and minor amendments include major amendments can only be heard one time per year, require 2 planning commission hearings, and require 2/3 vote of city council to adopt a proposed amendment. This process also requires enhanced notification to surrounding jurisdictions, whereas minor amendments can be heard anytime during the year, require 1 planning commission hearing, and require a simple majority of council to adopt a proposed amendment. This process does not require enhanced notification to adjacent jurisdictions. Scottsdale's major amendment criteria is set up to keep Scottsdale fiscally, socially, and environmentally sustainable. Generally, residential land uses are protected from more density and intensity of land uses encroaching on our neighborhoods, while commercial land uses and economic engines like Old Town and the airport are protected from a decrease in their ability to develop at a greater density and intensity. This slide presents criteria 1, change in land use category. The matrix on the left presents the 2001 land use matrix, while the matrix on the right presents the proposed 2035 land use matrix. Updated changes include Group D on the left, which includes neighborhood commercial, minor office, and minor employment, as well as Group E, regional use overlay, have been removed in that there were never independent designations on the 2001 land use map of our existing general plan to implement these land uses, and the regional use overlay was not a designated land use at all. Office and employment within Group E on the left has been combined into one land use category within the matrix on the right, shown as employment within Group H. As part of updating this land use matrix, the 2014 task force, reaffirmed by the 2020 Citizen Review Committee, discussed that these land uses were more similar than different and suggested that they be combined. The draft council-directed matrix also provides separation to the natural open space and developed open space and urban neighborhoods land use designations into their own land use category. Also, it includes the creation of a new land use designation, desert rural neighborhoods, which you can get additional information on through a separate community input series video, and the designation of major amendment processes for applications that would propose to amend the following land use designations from natural open space to rural neighborhoods, developed open space to either rural or suburban neighborhoods or cultural, institutional, or public use, and resort tourism to urban neighborhoods. Please note that both Planning Commission and City Council are still having continued discussion surrounding the land use matrix and its organization. Accordingly, the information in the land use matrix on the right is still subject to change. Criteria 2, area of change. The map exhibit on the left shows the 2001 area of change criteria, which expects that any change in land use category that is greater than 10 acres in size, south of the CAP Canal and west of North Pima Road, be considered a major amendment, while those areas shown in yellow, north of the CAP Canal and east of North Pima Road, be considered a major amendment if the proposed change in land use is greater than 15 acres in size. Within the draft 2035 plan, shown on the right, is the proposal to standardize the area of change to be any change in land use category greater than 10 acres in size would be considered a major amendment citywide. With respect to criteria number 2, other communities have a similar area of change criteria, but clearly the size of the parcel that triggers this criteria in other communities varies greatly. The The proposed new standard of 10 acres citywide for Scottsdale makes our area of change criteria one of the most conservative in size and similar to Cave Creek or Carefree on the low end of the spectrum. Since 2001, all major amendments were determined as a result of Criteria 1 and/or Criteria 2. Notably, the community has had 44 applications for amendments either withdrawn or expired in that same period because the amendment criteria worked effectively weeding those proposals that were not in conformance with the general plan land use criteria, goals, and policies. Criteria 3 and 4, character area and water and wastewater infrastructure criteria, although having never triggered a major amendment, have been brought forward from our existing general plan into the draft plan with some clarifying language added. Criteria 3 expects that if a proposal to change a land use category does not meet the objectives set forth in any character area plan, should a proposal be located in a character area, or if further a proposal expands a character area boundary, it be considered a major amendment. Criteria 4 expects that when a proposal to change a land use category exists, the resulting change does not prematurely increase the size of water or wastewater infrastructure, requiring either the investment in or physical provision for such a facility, it be considered a major amendment. Criteria 5, amendment criteria. A new criterion expects that a proposal that would modify the general plan amendment criteria section with either a text change to the use, density, or intensity of the general plan land use definitions would be considered a major amendment. Criteria 6, growth area criteria. A new criterion expects that a change in general plan land use category accompanied by a new or expanded growth area be considered a major amendment. Scottsdale's existing growth areas include McDowell and Scottsdale Road's growth area shown in dark green on the map, the Old Town growth area shown in red, with notation to the downtown core within Old Town, and the Greater Air Park growth area shown in blue. Criteria 7, general plan land use overlay criteria. A new criterion expects that either modification or expansion of an existing land use overlay category or the creation of a new general plan. Now that we have reviewed the proposed general plan amendment criteria, please complete the polling exercise to provide your input on the criteria. Once you have completed the polling, your input will be collected along with others' input and shared with Planning Commission and City Council. Thank you for your time and participation in the general plan update.